Hello, I'm Ada, and today we're taking a look at positioning. The basis of positioning is that we increase our lifetime to add more value to our team. We do this through individual microplays that help in 1v1s, or our macro plays, which benefit in a team setting. Typically, the most benefits are granted by macro play in team fights, so today we'll be focusing on this. There are two main skills we'll use here. Game knowledge, which helps limit risks and tells us when teams are strong or weak, and then we have mechanics, which allows more variety and control over our positioning. With this in mind, let's run through the main knowledge we need. Our priorities kick off with cover usage. Your choice of cover and preemptive access to it basically wins games on its own. Different types of cover include terrain, corners, high ground, shields, and places where your opponent just doesn't look. Additionally, access to health packs and limited lines of sight can make cover even more valuable. Cover is so important that not having access or not using it effectively can get you steamrolled, even if you're landing most of your shots. The next thing we prioritize is value. In this regard, value is the positive or negative effect between any hero and us. It closely reflects our mechanical skill, so there are certain positions we just can't take if our mechanical skill isn't high enough. This is obvious in things like playing Widow outside of McCree's range, however, it also includes tracking ultimate charge, which can be extremely impactful in not being caught by or wasting an ult. The final thing to prioritize is the flow of combat. It's dictated by health, cooldowns, potential damage, and both teams' decisions. The biggest factor is which team has more members alive, and thus, keeping track of that and when those members return can help us know how aggressive we can really be. As an interlude here, I would like to cover how mechanics are important in positioning. Think of it as mechanics put players on a timer, and that timer is your health bar. It's always compared to our opponents because that's competitive play. My list is based on our average skill, there will be plenty of numbers, and we'll relate that information to the other roles after showing it on DPS. It also assumes we had the correct positioning. Here we have a damage chart showing 0 to 100%, meaning that we can maybe deal with one player. Past 100% shows that we are on average better one-on-one against the enemy player. This continues all the way up to 600% and being able to kill all 6 of the enemy team. As a DPS, that's kind of the dream goal. However, unless your mechanics are significantly better than your opponents, you should aim to play where a healer can help you or add a health pack. The main takeaways from this are the percentages and how far you can stray from support. In an even matchup, you should usually only be 1 to 4 seconds away from help, because our fights usually aren't 1v1s. This concept similarly applies to the other two roles, but the different applications are very much interchangeable to make wildly different playstyles, which is what also makes things like our Reddit Lucios. That said, tank replaces percent damage level with enemies denied, and support replaces it with allies saved. And there we go. Applying our knowledge of cover, value, combat flow, and mechanics can be messy, but as long as we know what we want and we keep it simple, it's a breeze. So, let's put this all to the test. The first thing we'll check is if a position has good cover. Then is it valuable for us to be there? And last, we check for the flow of combat. I'll run through my decision making here with Anna, and add some notes based on other players around me doing the same thing. Here we are on Eichenwald, after my team unfortunately lost first point. My first thought is to find the most valuable cover. High ground is the best, then corners, then shields, and I end up choosing high ground. Then I ask, can I get value here? Use of mechanics and saving allies is a yes because my team plays where I can see them on the right, and my optimal range is unlimited. I could play on the left like my Ashe, who has shorter range, but that position also leaves the enemy open to get value on me, and I want to deny that. Last, what is the flow of combat like? My team regroups and begins winning the fight, so I push forward to continue supporting them. I could have also moved to the high ground on the left, or asked them to move back into my line of sight. At this point, we just rinse and repeat. I look to get my high ground back and notice I'm not getting value when I need to, so I rush to assist my Reinhardt. Then I look at the flow of combat and we got 2 kills, so we start pushing it in to win. It just takes knowing where the good spots are and going for it. Now, I'd like to take a good look at my Reinhardt. he could take high ground position, and he could deny 2 enemy DPS from there. However, the choke forces all of the enemies to walk through it, so if he holds low ground close to the choke, he could potentially deny all 6 enemies. This kind of decision making shifts from fight to fight based on ultimates available and hero swaps. Certain expectations I like to take note of are when you fight heroes with more vertical mobility than you. Namely, if we were playing these exact same fights against dive tanks, high ground alone would be worse cover, it would be more important to play where I could get support from my team, near McCree or Lucio, or where I could do the same for them. All in all, the show of how good your positioning is gets determined not just by how much value you get, but how much you allow your team to also get. The last tidbits I want to take note of come into play when ending a fight. There are a number of factors to keep in mind when losing, but I primarily track whether I can get away or not. Once your team is down by 2 or more players, you have to be decisive and choose to push the objective, fight the enemy, stall for time, or escape. Choose quickly, because sometimes that 2 seconds is all it takes to make a win. When winning, there's only one variance to keep track of. Is this solo queue or organized team play? In solo queue, you want to hold the most defensible, aggressive position you can get. In team play, you set up in the strongest position available and play within its limits. Together, this should cover most heroes and positioning you desire. There are some oddballs like Tracer or Doombringer Brigitte who can hold basically anywhere, but a little trial and error or time in a custom game should help you find all of the good spots you could want. This was an in-depth look at positioning. If you want more information on how to up your accuracy and take better positions, check out my video on aim mechanics. The link is in the description. Feel free to leave questions or comments down below, and if you enjoyed the video, remember to like and subscribe. In the next episode, we take a look at improving awareness. Thank you for watching, and let's become the best.